It's Brainbox Limited again, and it's time for another review. This time, it's Core Gamer's Wii Blaster. Let's see how much bang I get for my buck. And here we have it. Core Gamer's Wii Blaster. You see in the corner there, they're advertising it for Wii Play. And here's their logo. And you can see they've got the shooting game from Wii Play on display. If we turn it over to the back here, a bunch of features and stuff that no one really cares about, and it's like a hunting game of some kind. I don't really care. Alright. That's about it. Let's go ahead and open it up. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and unpack this right in front of the camera because there's not much to unpack. Got the box, a plastic thing, and this plastic thing, which I'm guessing is the gun. Now your nunchuck goes here. Remote goes up here, and there's a spot for the B button. It's pretty sturdy, but it doesn't come with any directions, which is annoying because it is a little bit of a pain to figure out. But here's what you're supposed to do. You move this orange thing back, which holds the remote in place. Get a Wii remote. Wrist strap can't stay on. Any kind of controller glove or battery grip, anything like that, it's going to have to come off. You just sort of place it right here in the shell itself. There we go. For the nunchuck, this has to break open. Let me grab my nunchuck here. Alright, you get the plug and you actually thread it into the body of the gun. Feels like it's in there. Now we pull this back so I have room to actually put my hand in there and then try and plug it in while there's a wrist strap in the way. Let's see if I can get it. Come on. Yeah, alright. Then you shut this, lock the controller in place. Then optionally you can actually thread in a little bit of the nunchuck's cord so it's not flapping around. I'm going to go ahead and get some in there. Alright, let's move that here. There's a little spot. Lock the gun shell shut. Put the nunchuck in and done. As you can see, it's kind of a hassle. And something very off-putting about this is I'd like to hold it like this. This is how I would hold a shotgun or a rifle. But this isn't how I hold the Wii remote and the nunchuck. I'm right-handed, so I normally hold the remote with my right hand and the nunchuck with the left. And trying to play like this, for me at least, was just impossible. So I eventually had to switch up and hold it with my right hand on the remote, my left on the nunchuck, which isn't how I'd hold the gun. So that was pretty annoying. But with enough practice, you can get pretty good at it, as you're about to see. Since it advertised Wii Play in the box, we're going to start with it. Well, I can aim just fine, although I'm moving the cursor a lot slower because of the extra weight of the shell. But I can compensate for that pretty well, as you can see. Since I have to hold it with both hands, it makes my aim incredibly steady. If you have shaky hands, this is actually probably a pretty good investment for you. Even though I'm doing pretty good, this really isn't any more fun than it is with just the remote. I think it's because I'm pressing the B button at the end of the gun, and it's not like the light gun I reviewed, which had a trigger on it, which made things a little more immersive and a little more fun. The slow cursor thing is kind of hurting me. That's because Wii Play's shooting gallery is a pretty frantic game. Oh, sorry. Let's get off Wii Play, and let's move on to a first-person shooter. The only way to open doors and other nunchuck commands is just to take it out like I just did. Trust me on this, I tried every manner of shaking the shell. Wii remote motion commands are actually pretty easy to pull off, like the slow-mo I just did. Actually, it's a lot of fun to play with the shell for this game, especially when you're using rifles like I am now. The end of the controller rumbling feels really good with the shell, and it's a really cool effect. Because of the extra weight slowing the cursor down, turning's a little bit of a pain, but actually using the A button to aim in Red Steel's a lot easier with the shell on, in my opinion. Actually, pulling off the slow-mos is a lot easier. With both hands on the controller, you can push it in and out really quick and get it to go. Let's see if I can get this guy to surrender. No, I don't know. I guess he can't see me from up here. Oh, well. The slow cursor means I can't aim nearly as quickly, but at the same time, I can pull off these slow-mos a lot easier, so it is sort of balancing out. Well, apparently they can't get the message I want them to give up from up here, so I'm just go down the stairs and... Okay, there we go. That's good. Luckily, I can just reload with the right control pad button. In fact, most of the shooters I play have alternatives to nunchuck motion commands. I just guess since Red Steel was one of the first, they really didn't think about it. Right here, for example, I'm out of bullets, and the only way I can pick up a gun is just to take the nunchuck out so I can do the command to grab a new gun. Here we go. said earlier, using the aiming like this is actually really easy. I normally don't do it with the remote because it's kind of a pain. I guess if I was doing it more just now, I'd probably done a little better. Despite the pitfalls, that was a lot of fun, and even with them, I can still play really well, and I can even sword fight when I take the nunchuck out. And most shooters do have alternatives to nunchuck motion commands. Anyways, that's enough Red Steel. Let's try Resident Evil 4. Since there are no motion commands on the nunchuck in this game, it should work out pretty well. Since I'm replaying this on a game where I've already got some souped up shotguns, I'm just going to kind of go crazy and see what kind of trouble I can stir up. The blaster is a really good fit with this game, and since I don't turn by moving the cursor, the whole slow down cursor thing isn't much of an issue either. Something that is kind of irritating is the nunchuck just sits there, and when I hit the Z button, I almost tap it out. So in response, I hold it tighter, and that causes the plastic to chafe my hand a little bit. Okay, got some bullets. Let's reload it. Oops. Not the reload there. Let me try again. Alright, there we go. You don't have to do that either. It's just more fun. Alright, let's get out the window here. Ladder. And alley-oop. At first I didn't really like this shell, but the more time I spend with it, the better I find it is. At least for games like this. It's actually a lot of fun. Basically, it has a learning curve to it, but once you get used to it, it's a great fit for certain games. Real quick, I just want to demonstrate you can still use the knife just fine. It's really no more difficult than it is without the shell. You can also still do things like the sprinting away from rocks. It's pretty awkward, but you can do it, and it just feels kind of weird. But they don't take up a lot of the game, so it's not a big deal. I want to go ahead and try elements before I wrap up this review. A big advantage over the light gun from this is, again, the steady aim. As you notice, I just sucked all those elements up and didn't shake my cursor at all. Manipulating objects, well, like I said, again, the steady aim helps, but at the same time, rotating the controller is kind of awkward, but I can move things in and out just fine. This shell is actually a lot more practical than it originally looked. The only real hang-up was, again, with the nunchuck motion commands. And aside from that, I can get everything just fine. I could use everything fine, and like I said, the aim's more steady. Still, since it is just a shell and doesn't have an added trigger like the light gun, that does kind of hurt the fun factor, especially for games like this. Also, rotating the controller is awkward, but just rotating the controller without the shell is kind of awkward. I think I've gotten enough playtime with this thing to give everyone a final verdict, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this bit with elements here. It's a pretty good attachment. For games like Resident Evil 4 and Red Steel, it makes it a lot of fun to play with this, especially when you feel the end of the controller rumble when you're using a rifle in the game. That's a great feeling. For more offbeat games like WiiProGamePlayer and Elements, I don't feel it added really anything to the experience. I don't think it was any better playing that with this than it was with just, say, the remote alone. It's a pretty good attachment all in all. You can get to all the buttons, and even though the whole nunchuck issue, there are workarounds. It kind of slows my aim down, but it makes my aim very steady as kind of a trade-off. The issues I have with it are that it's kind of expensive. It's $20 from GameStop.com. Maybe you can find it cheaper. I couldn't, unfortunately. And also, it's a bit of a hassle to get the remote in and out of the shell, as I showed you at the beginning of the video. So I'm not sure if it's really worth it for most people to go through that. If you really enjoy shooters on the Wii, and the ones you enjoy don't use a lot of nunchuck motion commands, it's a pretty good pickup. I really did like playing Resident Evil 4 and Red Steel with this thing, but aside from that, you wouldn't really need it. I mean, I like it, but I could live without it. Pretty much concludes this review. Until next time, it's BrainBox Limited saying bye-bye.